Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm Daveyon Bradley, and together we are more than 23. So today, guys, our principle for today is sacrifice is necessary. Like I just want to say, sacrifice is necessary, guys. Like so, where I'm coming from is my boy Josh Greer Jr. He a professional boxer. He's on a 15 fight winning streak. Shout out to my boy Josh. And the thing is he was doing an interview the other day, and somebody asked him, like when it come to sacrifice, like you doing all these, you making all these sacrifices, and you're so busy. Like like you over here, you over there, you in California, you going back to Chicago, you spend a lot of time in camp because you got to fight back after back after back after back to back. So and then you opening up a gym, so you spend time over there in the business. Like, how do you cope with that? Like, what are you doing to cope with that? Like, and how does your family taking that? How are you taking that? How are you handling that? And what he said was, my boy explained to him. He said, look, he said that I make sacrifice. He said I make the proper sacrifices, and he said sacrifice is a necessity. Like, sacrifice is needed. He said, but at the end of the day, somebody got to pay for that. At the end of the day, somebody got to pay for that. You got to get that. You got to get that, guys. Like he said, sacrifice is necessary. I make the proper sacrifice that I have to make in order to get that win. But if the person that don't, they got to pay for that. Like, if they not making the same sacrifices as me, they got to pay for that. Like, because the things that I gave up, he explained, like, the time I'm not spending with my family, like, somebody got to pay for that. Like, I'm missing on the holidays. Like, right now it's Thanksgiving, and I'm in California, somebody got to pay for that. Like, he explained that because I'm in camp, because I can't spend that time with my wife, somebody got to pay for that. Like, you got to get that, guys. You got to get that. Like, you got to think about it. If you in school right now, like, you got to understand that your sacrifices is necessary. If you like, you got to understand, like, you can't go to every party. You got to understand that you got to stay up some nights. You got to sacrifice sleep sometimes. Like, if you on a job and you working and you chasing promotion, like, you got to understand getting there early is essential. Like, that's necessary. Like, it's necessary for you. You got to make that sacrifice. If you got to get that 15, 20 minutes early, you got to make that sacrifice. You have to understand that staying late is a sacrifice. You have to you stay late because you willing to do something that nobody else is willing to do. It's a sacrifice. You got to understand that, guys. You got to think about the sacrifice is necessary, but the person that don't make the sacrifice is going to pay for that. You have to understand, like, the person that's going to pay for that. Like, as I said, Josh Greer Jr. is on a 15 fight winning streak, guys. Like, you got to grab that. Like, 15 fight in the pros. 15 fighting the pros, everybody is a great fighter. Like, most people hear the pros and they think everybody is a great fighter. But the thing is some people are better than the others. And the only thing that sets you apart is the sacrifice that you make. The sacrifice that you make. I don't care how much talent they got, I'm sacrificing. I don't care how much skill they got, I'm sacrificing. I don't care how fast they are, I'm sacrificing. Like, you have to understand, like, as long as I'm sacrificing, victory is in my hands. As long as I'm making the proper sacrifices, success is in my hand. As long as I'm sacrificing and somebody else is not, they got to pay for that. They got to pay for that. So you have to understand, guys, like, I was a boxer at one time, so I understand the sacrifice. Like, you don't know, like, the diet that you have to take. Sometimes you sacrifice food. You sacrifice a meal. Sometimes you have to give up certain things, and sometimes you give up the entire meal. Like, I remember giving up meat for a while. I remember eating salads for months so I can hit weight. Like, I remember getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, hitting the road, going out to run. I remember taking punches because I got 9 different sparring partners, and I'm spending time. So instead of I'm fighting 3 rounds, and so instead of training for 3 rounds, we would train 9 rounds, and so I'm fighting 9 different sparring partners or 7 different sparring partners so that they fresh every single time somebody get in the ring with me, they ready, and I'm tired. Like, the sacrifice that you make, you take a lot of punches. Like, the sacrifice that you make, you sore a lot. Like you don't get your hands swell up. Like, the sacrifices that you make. Like, you think about it, like, guys, I'm in school, guys. Like, I was in school, and when I'm in school, like, I stay up long nights, right? And then I get on the road and go to work, right? And then I come home and I got like an hour to spend with my family. But I'm spending 7 to 8 hours a day on a computer or in a classroom. Like, you got to get that, guys. That's sacrifice. That's sacrifice. Like, everybody partying, everybody out partying on Saturday and on Friday, but I'm in front of I'm in the books, guys. Like, you got to think about that. Like, that's sacrifice, guys. That's sacrifice, because I'm chasing a dream. I'm chasing my goals. I'm chasing my dream. Like, everything that I dreamed about, I'm trying to make it come to pass, and I'm making sacrifice. Like, you got to think about it. When Martin Luther King went out on march, And when Martin Luther King, when Martin Luther King went out and he did and he protested and he got hit with rocks, he made sacrifices. I'm pretty sure he was angry, but he sacrificed short-term gratification for long-term gratification. He sacrificed. He could have got angry and he could have hit back, but instead he said, "I'm gonna sacrifice that. I'm gonna give it up. I'm gonna give up my ability to fight back so that somebody else might have freedom one day. So that somebody else might have the right to go into a better school one day." Like, you got to think about that, guys. Sacrifice is necessary. Sacrifice is necessary. And if you don't make the proper sacrifices, you're going to pay for that. You're going to pay for that because everybody don't get promotion, guys. Promotion ain't, everybody don't get drafted in the NFL, guys. Everybody don't get picked. Like, if you playing football or anything like that, if you playing football and you in high school, or you playing basketball and you in high school, you have to understand, guys, that sacrifice is necessary. Like, everybody don't make the team, guys. You got to think about that. You got to think about that, guys. Like, think about this in your marriage. Like, you can't have all the women and still keep your wife sometimes. Like, so like certain women ain't going for that. Certain women ain't going for that. And you know, if your woman not going for that, you got to make proper sacrifices, guys. You got to make the proper sacrifices. Like, same thing, ladies. You can't have the attitude. You can't have the attitude and expect him to stick around all the time. Like, sometimes you got to cut certain things, women. Like, you got to make a sacrifice sometimes, women. Like, you got to think about that, guys. Like sacrifice is necessary all around the board. And that's just a couple things. Like, sacrifice is necessary all around the board. Like, anything that you chasing, anything that you desire, anything that you want to, like, that you dream about. Like, I need you to know that sacrifice is going to be necessary. Sacrifice is going to be necessary. If you're a Christian, you have to understand that you're going to have to sacrifice some time and spend it with God. You're going to have to sacrifice some time sometimes and give it to God. Like, so you got to sacrifice, guys. You got to think about that, guys. You got to pray. You got to pray. Like, sometimes you don't feel like praying, but you got to make the sacrifice. You got to get up and make the sacrifice. I know you want to lay down sometimes, but you got to make the sacrifice, guys. Like, sometimes I know you want to sit down and you want to scroll through Facebook and you want to just spend a little more time on the internet because you don't feel like doing, like, you got to get up, make the sacrifice. Get up, make the sacrifice. Like, come on, guys, sacrifice is necessary because somebody else is out there making the proper sacrifices. And the thing is you wonder why certain people walking across the stage. You wonder why certain people are getting promoted. You wonder why certain people are winning championship after championship. You wonder why certain people are winning belt after belt. You wonder why people are hitting shots and they status is going up. You wonder why certain relationships last. And I'm here to tell you today, the reason why others do and yours is not is because the truth of it is you're not making the proper sacrifices. And you pay for that. Like Josh Greer Jr. said, like, I make the proper sacrifices for success. I make the proper sacrifices for the win. But somebody got to pay for that. So I'm just here to let you guys know I'm Daveyon Bradley, but together we are more than 23. And I'm letting you guys know today, make a decision that I'm going to make every sacrifice that's needed. I'm Daveyon Bradley, and we are more than 23.